Latte with Luke podcast, episode 1. Today I'm joined by Laurie French, a software developer consultant at IBM Research. Hi Laurie, how are you doing today?
Hi Luke, I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Not bad at all. Thank you. Not bad at all. So basically today we're going to discuss your apprenticeship journey, how you kind of enrolled onto an apprenticeship and how you're finding that experience. So you're doing a degree level apprenticeship, level 6, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And what's that in? Sorry, what subject is that?
So the standard's called Digital and Technical Solutions, but I'm specialising in software engineering, so that's the certificate that I'll get from the apprenticeship side, and I study at Exeter University.
Brilliant. And how many days a week do you spend at Exeter University?
So it's all remote, well, predominantly remote. So 1 day a week, we're essentially Skyping into lectures, learning our course tuition, and then 3 weeks a year, we're actually on site at the uni, where we're either doing exams or learning the modules like in person with the lecturers.
That's great. And how does it kind of work with your normal job with IBM? So you work in 4 days a week at IBM, is that?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay, brilliant. And what do you kind of do day to day at IBM?
So I work within emerging technology in IBM Research as a software developer. So what that means is very broad. Essentially, we build proof of concepts, which are kind of like short-term demos that show the technology is viable for clients, which can come from any industry, and working on bleeding edge technology. So massively varies day to day what that entails, but generally software development, coding, designs, etc.
Brilliant. And what were kind of the skills you needed to get onto this apprenticeship? What were the skills you had before you enrolled?
Yeah, so I didn't have many technical skills before I joined. My kind of basis for going into development was that I loved maths, and I hoped that programming would be much the same, and luckily it is, so that worked out well. But IBM, from what I understand, they don't particularly look for, you're great at Python or you have built a demo before. It's more you're really excited about tech, you want to learn, and you're raring to kind of get involved.
Brilliant. And I remember you kind of saying as well that... that you said that there wasn't many other female, girls enrolled on the maths. Was it an A level?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And how did that feel being the only girl in your kind of class? How was that? Did you feel like there was a kind of bit of a barrier there, or did you find it? You kind of wanted to, show that you could do that course, as it were.
Yeah. So. I never noticed my gender in secondary school, but when I went to sixth form, I was studying double maths, and I was one of few girls within the subject, within our class, and I just really felt like I didn't belong there, which is really strange because I never thought that would be a barrier, but it was just everyone looked a certain way and acted a certain way, and I really felt like I didn't fit that mould. And I remember it was really poignant to me because I spoke to the tutor and I was like, I think I need to drop down to single maths. I really don't feel like I'm good enough to be here. And they said that I'd got the second highest grade of everyone in the class. And it was kind of an affirmation that, why did I feel that way? Why did I feel like I didn't belong there when I was managing to keep up, I was getting good grades. And then it was just realising that I really had to be more confident in myself, that I deserved a place there, I was going to make a place for myself there. And that was hard at first. Sure,
of course. So I suppose maybe it's a good time to talk about your passion as well for kind of STEM careers as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you want to kind of talk about that, your passion for STEM careers.
Yeah, so I love my job in STEM, and I think it's really important that everyone's aware that it could be a viable option for them, especially apprenticeships as well. So, I had no knowledge that those schemes existed. I thought the only way you could become a programmer was through doing a full-time degree. So that lack of information there was kind of a big barrier to me getting into the field. I think specifically as well, STEM has been historically something we haven't talked a lot with women, for whatever reasons. But I think it's really important that female developers go into schools, as I do, and say, I'm really excited about this. You should come, think about it. Maybe you'd love it as well. And just start this dialogue so that everyone knows that they have a place there. And if they want to, they could do really well.
Sure. I mean, we see a lot with BCS, we do a lot of reports around kind of diversity in IT.
Yeah.
And we see every year it's around the 16-17% of females in IT.
Yeah.
And do you think that's because of a lack of role models, or what are your opinions on that, I suppose?
Yeah, so I think it's a really difficult topic because I don't know exactly what the reason is. I think I remember learning at school in psychology that your ability to empathise with someone is directly correlated to your gender. So you find it easier to see yourself in someone's shoes if you're of the same gender. And I think that growing up, I didn't see women in STEM in the public eye. And every time I looked, I saw men, which isn't a bad thing, but it just made it more kind of obvious to me that I didn't necessarily belong there. And that's why it's so important to me that people who are in STEM, whether it's me, I've only been here 2 years, or female developers who've been owning it for 50, we go out and we say, we're doing it, you can do it, we need more people like you. And then hopefully it empowers those women to at least just consider it as an option for themselves.
Of course. And if we bring it back to kind of when you got onto your apprenticeship scheme as well, if you don't mind, you said that you went for a kind of assessment centre.
Yes.
And how did that kind of work? What were your kind of first steps of applying for the apprenticeship as well?
Yeah, so when I applied for IBM, I think it's over 3 years ago now, we had originally a CV application. So we just wrote our CV into the IBM standard template around, like, we had to show core skills. So IBM looked for like adaptability, enthusiasm. There are various skills that they look for, but essentially just using school examples for those. And then once we passed the screening, we then went into a test. So they have a test, like essentially measuring your basic logical reasoning skills, your mathematical ability, and then you pass that, you then go to an assessment centre. And assessment centres are really common practice. From what I understand, they're used in every major company that hires, and you'll go in with a bunch of everyone else who's passed those 2 tests, or phases I should say, and you'll be given tasks to do together. And the idea is that you're showing that you can work well as a team, that you're excited and enthusiastic, that you'd be a good fit for the company. And then after you've made it through that, the final stage is you then kind of wait in a pool for managers to interview you, upon which you can then join IBM.
That's brilliant. Have you got kind of any advice for anyone who's kind of planning to go down that route or is currently waiting on a kind of assessment? Have you got any advice?
Yeah, so I would say there's tons of helpful stuff online. I remember I researched a lot about how can I do really well in an assessment centre, what are behaviours that really set me apart. One of the things I did, which I think was really effective, was when I was working in the team group exercise, there were people who were quite quiet, and so I'd bring them into the discussion and be like, oh, Anna, what do you think? And I think we feel under pressure to show that we are good and like focus on ourselves, but part of being a team player is actually thinking about the people and making sure they're involved. And that can really show your strength as a leader to like invite them in and make sure everyone's a part of the conversation.
No, of course. And I think as well, I suppose people don't realise that these degree apprenticeships, I suppose, are available, and they are kind of an alternative route, I suppose. And did you have any other options, or did you consider any other options for your career or moving forward from, I suppose, was it A-levels, I think, were you moving forward from? Yeah. So was there anything else that you considered?
Yeah, so I honestly thought the only route was by doing a degree. Like, in terms of full-time, I'm still obviously getting my degree. And there was quite a lot of pressure because I got 2 A-stars in an A-level, so everyone was like, you're going to Russell Group Uni, we don't have to worry about you, like, you're just sorted. And that was really difficult because once I found out about apprenticeships, I really wanted to go down that route, and kind of getting people to see it as valid was a massive obstacle, and a lot of people didn't. And I think it's such a shame because now that I am the place where I am, where I'm doing a job I absolutely love, I'm getting my degree anyway, people have so much more respect. And I think that it's very hard for school leavers in that position to have the strength in themselves to be like, no, I know what I'm going to do. I know I want to do an apprenticeship. I'm going to go after it, when there can be some adversity in that space. So,
of course. I mean, I remember when I was leaving school, there wasn't really much, I suppose, guidance, I suppose, around apprenticeships. It was either you kind of, you go to college or you go to university. There was nothing kind of in between.
Yeah.
It seems though now that there is that movement towards apprenticeships being more of a viable and recognised option, as you say, around the recognition, which I think is very valuable. And I think it's the standard of the apprenticeships as well that's kind of driving that shift. We have seen a higher standard in apprenticeships, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, what have you thought of the standard of your apprenticeships? Has it been difficult for you, or how have you found it?
So I found my degree really challenging. Balancing doing my computer science studies while working is very hard. And the practical skills I'm getting from the job as well are invaluable. And in my eyes, they far supersede anything I was learning at school, because they're teaching me practically how to develop for clients, real consultancy skills. But I do agree that I do get kind of confused that people see the validity in the degree option a lot more sometimes, because they're like, oh, well, you have a degree from Exeter, that then makes it okay. But for me, the thing that adds the most value is the work, which I do, and you can do on any apprenticeship. So I think there's a big educational point around saying, like, what we do is really valuable, and an apprentice, you're not going to be getting coffee, you're going to be doing interesting things, and regardless of the scheme that you're on, whether it's degree or level 4, whatever, you will be learning invaluable skills, and that's valuable in today's age. So.
That's it. And I suppose on that point as well, what do you feel like you've kind of learned from your apprenticeship? What are the kind of main things you feel like you've learned from that?
So in terms of the working side, consultancy was a skill I had absolutely no knowledge of. So the first time I was put on a project and I was working on client side with stakeholders, working with them to deliver value, because we're being billed out and we have to show that, we are delivering things that matter. That was a whole new experience, and learning how to maintain kind of their confidence, really kind of show the value that you're bringing was a skill in of itself. And then obviously all the technical side. So you have to be able to build the things you're building. For over the first year I was doing chatbots, then I moved on to RPA, and now more generally with just an emerging tech. But all of the programming skills that go inside with that, the more general like design skills, testing skills, data skills, lots of stuff around that. But then in terms of my degree as well, the degree, if you do the software engineering degree, it teaches you coding. So you still learn Python and Java and stuff like that. So you get a lot from both sides.
That's brilliant. And what were kind of, I suppose, the soft skills as well that you've kind of picked up from your apprenticeship? What are the kind of soft skills you've picked up?
So before I started my apprenticeship, I had never done networking ever, which is unsurprising because I was a child. But being able to go into a room and speak to people I didn't know, who a lot of the time I thought were far more superior than me, and like I wasn't even worthy of a conversation with them, was a big learning curve for me. And then also just being able to network and find roles. So the nature of consultancy is you are on projects and you'll move projects, and to be able to go around IBM and be like, I can add value to your project, invest in me, let me do development for you, this is what I can add. Again, that was a lot of soft skills that I had never touched on before joining IBM.
Yeah, and I think as well, I suppose on that point, it is quite daunting, isn't it, when you're coming out of education and you've got to do that. As you say, networking, it can be very daunting. I mean, me, myself, at the moment, I find this very daunting. I've never done this before, and networking is exactly the same. Speaking to people about work you've never really, spoken to, you wouldn't maybe speak to outside of work, potentially, can be very daunting. And I think that those are skills that are really valuable, I think, and will kind of... stand the test of time in the long run. They'll look really good for you as well, won't they? If you can network throughout your career, it'll be a very good skill to have.
Yeah. Touching on that, sorry. So I remember the first time I went to a networking event, I was sweating and I was like so anxious. And I said to myself, you just have to talk to one person. You literally talk to one person. It can be anyone, but then you can go. Yeah. And then it was 2 people and 3 people. And now it's still hard, but it's nowhere near as uncomfortable as it used to be. And I think that's the point of growing your skills, right? You will go in probably knowing very little in terms of networking as a school leaver, but you'll have so many opportunities to grow that. And you just have to take them and push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, and you will grow. So
that's it. And I think we spoke last week around kind of building your personal brand. I suppose that kind of fits into it as well. Yeah. What are your views on that, kind of building your personal brand throughout your career and your professional career? Yeah.
So we have a big word we use in IBM called eminence. So essentially, people need to know who you are, what you do, the skills that you have, in order, obviously, for consultancy, for them to pick you for projects so you can do interesting work, but also generally so you can navigate the roles that you want to be in, the career progression you want to take. And building your own brand has so many facets. For me, the one that I've really focused on is having interesting things to talk about. So if you go to networking but you have nothing to say, I think that that's not an ideal position to be in. But I would build obviously I had my chatbots at work, but I'd build small things on the side as well. So I had interesting content to share. And then also I try to get involved in as many mentoring activities as I can. So one of the best pieces of advice I heard was collect mentors like the M&Ms. Yeah. And I think that your mentors can introduce you to so many people and give you so many skills that will far better prepare you for those situations and be known and be valued. So
that's brilliant. And I suppose that last question I'll ask you as well is, if anyone's considering taking an apprenticeship, what would you say to them?
I would say that you have to have strength in yourself that it's the right option, which can be really hard when you may see like academia and university as the very trusted route. And but do tons of research. There are so many examples of apprentices who have been so successful, and think, is that something that I want for my life? Is what they're doing exciting to me, and can I actually get that from my scheme? And in my opinion, a lot of the time the answer to that is yes. And then take that to people. So going around to your friends in school and saying, I want to do an apprenticeship because I think it's going to be good, it has no tangible outcome. But if you say, I know I can build chatbots on this scheme, I know that I can get a first class degree from Russell Group University on the scheme, whatever it is that makes it valid in your eyes, share that with people so they can realise why you're taking it and the value of it.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. That concludes the first episode of the Latte podcast. Thank you very much, Laurie, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
That was great. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.